Welcome back to the Living Simpler podcast. I'm Amy Mewborn, and if you have ever felt like your body stopped responding the way it used to, even though you are doing so many things right, this episode is for you. Today, I am telling you a story I do not share very often. It is my own story, and it is the reason this entire podcast exists. Here it is. I was 29 years old, lying in a hospital bed, and a doctor was standing over me saying the word stroke. And I remember thinking, this doesn't happen to people like me. I was young. I was working in finance. I had just completed my Pilates certification, and I was in the best shape of my life at that point. I looked completely fine the day before. I had gone for a run and had done a Pilates, the workout, the morning of the stroke. And sitting in that hospital bed late that night, in the room, all by myself, the thing running through my head on repeat was, how did I get here? Here's the thing nobody tells you about a moment like that. You spend the next few years assuming it was just one bad, random, isolated event, a lightning strike, bad luck. So you go back to your life, and then a few years later, you develop a cough that won't go away for 9 straight months, and you tell yourself that's random too. And then mold shows up in your environment, and that's its own separate crisis. And then you end up in the ICU with an autoimmune diagnosis, and you file that one away too as its own thing, completely unrelated to everything before it. For years, I treated a stroke, a cough, weight gain, extreme stress, some anxiety, mold exposure, an ICU stay, and an autoimmune disease, completely different stories. Random, unrelated things that just happened to happen to me. I chased whatever symptom was screaming the loudest that week, and I filed everything else in a totally different folder. A stroke was a stroke, a cough was a cough, mold was mold, hormones were hormones, stress was just stress, the way stress is for everyone, right? Wrong. And it took me way too long to figure that out. Here's the question that finally changed everything for me. What if none of these were separate stories? What if there was actually one pattern running underneath all of it the entire time? That question is the whole reason Living Simpler exists, and it's the reason I do this work today. Because here's what I think we get wrong about health. We chase the loudest symptom instead of asking what our body is actually trying to tell us. You're tired, so you grab something for energy. You gain weight, so you cut your calories again. You can't sleep, so you add another magnesium. Your hormones feel like a stranger moved into your body overnight, so now you're deep in a rabbit hole of estrogen, cortisol, peptides, glucose monitors, cold plunges, and whatever gadget TikTok convinced you that you needed this week. And listen, I own half of that stuff. I am not throwing stones here. I love a good wellness gadget. I can turn almost anything into a science experiment on myself. But eventually I realized something. I could own every tool in the wellness aisle and still completely miss the point because I wasn't asking the one question that actually mattered. What is my body responding to? That question got very personal for me because my own health story does not fit in one neat little box. I had a stroke at 29 years old, 29. Say that number out loud and it still sounds wrong to me. I was young, I was working, I looked completely fine from the outside, but I was deeply unhappy in my job. And I want to be careful here because I am not telling you that being unhappy at work caused my stroke. Biology does not work that simply, and stroke has real medical risk factors that need real medical evaluation. What I can tell you is that I was carrying a mountain of stress in a body I wasn't paying attention to. And my plan, if you can even call it a plan, was just to keep going. Push through, handle it, get it done. Sound familiar? Here's something that still gets me. Stroke in younger women is not some freak, 1 in a million event we should shrug off. The American Heart Association points to research suggesting stroke risk in women ages 25 to 44 may actually be higher than it is in men the same age. High blood pressure is one of the biggest risk factors for stroke, and some research suggests women may face greater stroke risk than men at the exact same blood pressure numbers. I did not know one word of that at 29. I thought health worked like this. You're healthy until a doctor tells you otherwise. A lot of us were raised on that belief. You go to work, you take care of everyone, you keep the house running, you handle the kids, you show up. And unless something is seriously, undeniably wrong, you keep moving. So that's what I did. I kept moving. Then mold showed up in my story. I developed a cough that would not quit for 9 straight months. 9 months. If that has never happened to you, it's hard to explain how strange it is to watch your own body do something that makes zero sense. You start wondering if you're imagining it. You normalize it. You build little workarounds. You explain it away to people. Oh, I just have this cough, like coughing for nearly a year is a completely normal Tuesday. Eventually, we traced it back to mold exposure in my environment. And that became one more piece of a picture I still wasn't seeing whole. That mold exposure ended up tangled together with an autoimmune illness. And this is where the story gets really important, because autoimmune disease is overwhelmingly, disproportionately a women's issue. The NIH reports that up to 50 million Americans are living with autoimmune disease, and about 4 out of every 5 of them are women. Researchers think it's a mix of genetic vulnerability and environmental exposure. And honestly, there's still a lot we don't fully understand. 4 out of 5. Sit with that number for a second. If you've ever looked around and thought, why does every woman I know seem to have Hashimoto's, or rheumatoid arthritis, or lupus, or MS, or Sjogren's, or some inflammatory thing nobody can quite explain? That's why it feels so familiar. It's not in your head. And then I landed in the ICU. That is what finally led to my autoimmune diagnosis and to a chapter of my health story I never in a million years expected to write. Now, I could have kept treating all of this like separate, unrelated chapters: stroke, mold, cough, autoimmune disease, ICU, hormones shifting, blood pressure climbing, inflammation, stress, sleep falling apart, energy disappearing. But somewhere in there, I stopped asking, how do I make this symptom shut up? And I started asking, what is the pattern here? That single shift changed everything. It's actually the reason I became an integrative health practitioner. And I want to be clear about something, because people assume I did that training to add a title to my bio. Nope. I did it because I needed to understand my own body. I was so tired of holding puzzle pieces scattered across the floor with nobody looking at the picture on the box. I wanted to understand blood sugar, hormones, stress, sleep, digestion, inflammation, my environment, nutrients, my nervous system, and how all of it talks to each other. I became an IHP for me first. And then something interesting started happening. Women in my life started saying the exact same things to me. Friends, clients, family, women my age who were successful, capable, doing everything they were supposed to do. And I kept hearing versions of one story on repeat. I know something's off. My labs came back normal. I'm exhausted all the time. I've gained weight and nothing that used to work works anymore. I feel puffy. I can't sleep. My brain feels foggy. My anxiety feels different now, almost unrecognizable. My cycle is a mess. My cycle disappeared. My joints hurt. My digestion is weird. My blood sugar feels like a roller coaster. My doctor said it's probably stress. My doctor said it's just menopause. My doctor told me to eat less. My doctor said everything looks fine. And I kept thinking, how are this many women having the exact same conversation? I need to say something clearly here, because this is not a doctor bashing episode. I have had doctors save my life. I have deep respect for good medical care. And there are incredible physicians and nurses and specialists doing life-saving work every single day. But there is a real limitation baked into a system built around short appointment windows, one that has to prioritize disease, diagnosis, and immediate medical risk. And sometimes the woman in that exam room doesn't have one giant flashing red light. She's got 15 tiny yellow ones. She's sleeping 6 hours, waking up tired, skipping breakfast, running on coffee until noon, eating something fast at her desk. Her blood sugar is riding a roller coaster by 3 in the afternoon. She's been under brutal stress for 3 years straight. She hasn't had a real vacation in longer than she can remember. She stopped lifting weights. Her hormones are shifting. She's drinking wine most nights because it's the only thing that helps her come down. She's waking up at 3 in the morning. She's swollen. Her digestion changed. She's up 12 pounds. Her cholesterol climbed. Her blood pressure is creeping. And she sits down and says, I just don't feel like myself anymore. Where exactly is that supposed to fit into a 10-minute appointment? That gap right there became something I couldn't stop thinking about it. And it turns out there's real research behind that gap. One large analysis looking at over 100 acute and chronic conditions found that women waited longer than men between their first symptoms and an actual diagnosis for the majority of conditions studied. In one data set, women waited about 21 days longer for acute conditions, 63 days longer for mid-length chronic conditions, 134 days longer for long-term chronic ones. That doesn't mean every woman gets dismissed. It means this pattern is real enough that it deserves our attention. And there's another study that genuinely bothered me. Researchers looked at over 21,000 emergency room visits involving pain across the United States and Israel. Women were less likely to get pain medication. Their pain scores were less likely to even get recorded. And they spent about 30 minutes longer in the ER, even after researchers controlled for how much pain people reported. So when a woman tells me I feel like nobody's listening to me, I don't just assume that feeling came out of nowhere. Autoimmune disease makes this whole conversation even more important. Recent Autoimmune Association data shows around 50 million Americans living with autoimmune disease, about 80% of them women and patients, seeing an average of 6 different doctors over roughly 4 years before they get a diagnosis. 6 doctors, 4 years. Really picture what 4 years like that looks like. You're exhausted. Maybe you're told it's stress. Your joints ache. Maybe you're told to exercise more, so you do, and you feel worse. Your digestion shifts. Your hair starts thinning. The weight creeps up. Your brain feels like it's wrapped in cotton. You're up at night. And eventually you start wondering if you've quietly become dramatic. Here's where I want you to stop doing what I did for way too long. Stop treating every symptom like its own isolated event, because your body does not work in separate departments. You don't have one little employee running your thyroid, another one upstairs handling cortisol, and someone else in accounting managing your blood sugar completely on their own. Every system in your body is talking to every other system, all day, every day. Your sleep affects your appetite, your stress touches your blood pressure, your blood sugar swings hit your energy, your hormones influence your sleep, your body composition, your mood, and how sensitive you are to insulin. Your environment matters, movement matters, nutrition matters, relationships matter, workload matters, recovery matters, genetics matter. And yes, sometimes a symptom really does point to one clear specific condition, which is exactly why medical evaluation still matters here. I am not telling you to become your own doctor. I'm telling you to become a much better observer of your own patterns. That's a different job, and it's one only you can actually do because you're the one living in that body every single day. Stop chasing symptoms. Start looking for the pattern. Part 4. Let's make this practical because I don't want you leaving this episode with a vague feeling and no next move. Say you tell me I'm tired. Okay, tired when? Tired the second you wake up, fine in the morning and crashing hard at 2, great until lunch and then done for the day, wide awake again at 10 at night for no reason, wiped out specifically the week before your period. Did it start after an illness? After your sleep changed during a season of brutal stress? Did you start eating less because you were trying to lose weight? Are you actually getting enough protein? Has anyone checked your iron, your B12, your thyroid? That is an entirely different conversation than I need an energy supplement. Or say you gained weight out of nowhere. Most women go straight to, I need to eat less. Maybe, but wait, actually back up. What changed first? Did your sleep change? Did menopause start? Did your movement drop off? Did you stop strength training? Is your hunger different? Is your alcohol intake up? Did work stress explode? Did a medication change? Did your thyroid numbers shift? Did your blood sugar shift? Did your whole routine fall apart because life got chaotic? Now we're actually looking at a pattern instead of guessing. One more. You are waking up at 3 every single morning. You could chase sleep and only sleep, or you could ask what else is going on. Wine at night, dinner at 9, climbing into bed with your brain still at the office, scrolling until midnight, hot flashes, perimenopause, overtraining, undereating, living on caffeine? Or is there something emotional your brain apparently thinks 3 in the morning is the perfect time to bring up? The symptom is sleep. The pattern underneath it might be something else entirely. This is exactly why I've become so obsessed with signals. Your body is talking to you constantly. Energy is information. Sleep is information. Digestion, mood, hunger, cravings, your cycle, your blood pressure, your labs, how you bounce back after a workout, how you feel after you eat, how you hold up during a stressful season. All of it is information. Any one of those things alone might mean almost nothing. Put 12 of them together and suddenly you can see something real. That's not a diagnosis. That's just a better question, and a better question can completely change what happens in your next doctor's appointment. Instead of walking in and saying, I feel terrible, picture walking in with this instead. For the last 3 months, I've been waking up between 2:30 and 3:30, at least 4 nights a week. My energy crashes around 2 in the afternoon. My cycles become irregular. I've gained 11 pounds without changing how I eat. My blood pressure is higher than my normal baseline. And all of this started around the same time. Now your doctor actually has something to work with. I wish 29-year-old Amy had known all of this. I wish she'd understood that health isn't something you only think about once something breaks loudly enough to land you in a hospital. I wish I'd understood my blood pressure. I wish I'd understood stress and recovery and what my own environment was doing to me. I wish I had been tracking patterns instead of just assuming I was fine because I was still productive. Because that right there is one of the sneakiest traps for high-achieving women. We confuse functioning with actually thriving. If I got the work done, I must be fine. If I'm still taking care of everyone, I must be fine. If I can get dressed and show up to the meeting, I must be fine. If I can still work out, I must be fine. Meanwhile, your body is leaving you about 10 little sticky notes a day. Hey, something changed. Hey, I need more recovery. Hey, this food rhythm stopped working. Hey, we are not sleeping anymore. Hey, stress has been high for way too long. Hey, hormones shifted. Hey, blood pressure is climbing. Hey, I need you to pay attention. And what do? I'll deal with you after this deadline. I did that for years, which is exactly why this topic is so personal to me. I don't want you to need a catastrophic event before you get curious about what your body's been trying to tell you. I want you paying attention way earlier than that. So let's make this actionable. For the next 7 days, stop trying to fix everything at once. Just observe. Pick 5 things to watch: sleep, energy, meals, mood, movement, add cravings, cycle symptoms, digestion or blood pressure if those are relevant to you. Then start connecting dots. What happened the night before that brutal low energy day? What did you eat right before the craving hit? What does alcohol do to your sleep? How do you feel after 3 days with 0 movement? How's your mood after a night of 7 or 8 hours? What happens in the second half of your cycle? How do you feel on days you actually got enough protein at breakfast? What happens after a genuinely stressful day? You're collecting clues, and then you take those clues to the right person. Maybe that's your primary doctor. Maybe it's your gynecologist, your endocrinologist, your neurologist, your cardiologist, or your rheumatologist. Maybe it's a qualified health practitioner who helps you organize your lifestyle patterns alongside your medical care. You don't have to pick a side between conventional medicine and understanding your own daily habits. I use both. Medicine saved my life. Understanding how my own body responds to my daily environment changed my life. Those two things belong in the exact same conversation. I especially want women over 40 to hear this part because this decade can feel like somebody snuck in overnight and changed the entire operating system without telling you. Sleep changes, body composition changes, insulin sensitivity shifts, hormones shift, recovery slows down, What worked at 32 can just stop working at 47, no warning label included. And that's usually when women turn on themselves. I've lost my discipline. I need to try harder. I need another diet. I need to fast longer. I need more cardio. But wait, actually, maybe none of that is it. Maybe your body just changed the rules and nobody sent you the memo. Maybe what it actually needs is more nourishment, more muscle, better sleep, less chaos, more daylight, more recovery, more consistent meals, less alcohol, more attention to your blood pressure and your blood sugar, an honest conversation with your doctor about your hormones, real lab work instead of guesswork, a closer look at your environment, a routine you can actually repeat, instead of one more 30-day boot camp that burns you out by week 2. That right there is what living simpler means to me. This gets to feel simple, not because your health is simple. It isn't. Human bodies are wildly, beautifully complicated. It gets to feel simple because you finally know which signals actually matter. So, you stop reacting to every single symptom like it dropped out of the sky with zero explanation. Zoom out. Look at the whole week, the whole month, the whole year. Ask what changed. Ask what keeps repeating. Ask what happened right before the symptom showed up. Ask what makes it better. Ask what makes it worse. Ask what your labs are actually showing you over time. Ask if these separate little pieces might belong to the exact same puzzle. And please hear this part clearly. If you believe something is medically wrong, keep asking questions. Get a second opinion when you need one. Bring your history, bring your timeline, bring your blood pressure readings, bring your labs, bring your notes. You live in that body every single day. Your provider brings the medical training and the clinical expertise. You bring the lived data. The best conversations use both of you. My own body has taken me through a stroke at 29, 9 months of a cough nobody could explain, mold exposure, autoimmune illness, an ICU stay, hormone shifts, and more confusing moments that I can even count. I would never have chosen a single one of those experiences, but they changed the questions I ask. I don't ask, how do I shut this symptom up as fast as possible, nearly as often anymore. Now I ask, what is this actually telling me? What else is happening at the same time? What changed? What pattern am I missing? And that's what I want you to walk away with today. Your next move doesn't have to be another supplement, another diet, another gadget with a subscription attached. Start with curiosity, track your signals, connect the dots, bring the pattern into the room with you. Because sometimes the answer you've been Googling at midnight isn't hiding in the loudest symptom. It's sitting quietly in the relationship between all of them. If any of this sounded a little too familiar, this is exactly the work we do inside the Living Simpler Collective. We take the overwhelming, noisy world of hormones, metabolism, stress, nutrition, sleep, and aging, and we make it make sense. We look at the patterns together. We talk about what actually moves the needle, not what's trending this week, and we turn all of it into small, doable things that fit your actual real life. Right now, you can try the collective for $1. So if you've spent the last month Googling one symptom at a time with 17 browser tabs open at midnight, come sit with us. The link is in the show notes. This week, before you try to fix one more thing, do something simpler instead. Pay attention. Write it down. Look for the pattern. Your body has been giving you information this whole time. Maybe it's finally time to listen. Until next week, living simpler, living better.